Hello, everyone, and welcome to a 10-part series on how to be a great leader in this new and often challenging world of work that we operate in.
Workforce Excellence, involvedgroup.com.
In this session, I'll be focusing on the 10th of the traits that employees highlighted for being a great leader, which is about how leaders need to take care of their people. Now, you may be surprised that this is the 10th on the list of what employees are looking for in their leaders, but it's important to keep in mind that the concept of care has been actually woven into many, if not all, of the other 9 traits that employees said that they were looking for. And for this reason, in this session, I'll be bringing it all together. So some of what I've said already, but also throwing in a few more just for good measure. And I'll be answering 3 questions. First of all, why is it important for leaders to take care of their people? How can leaders take care of their people? And what are the next steps for success? So let's start with the why. So why is it important for leaders to take care of their people? Now, throughout the series, I've answered this question many, many times. So instead of sharing facts and figures, what I thought I would do is share with you 3 quotes. Who doesn't love a good quote, right? So the first quote is from business owner Richard Branson, who says that if you take care of your people will take care of your customer, and your business will take care of itself. And what I love about this quote is that it really talks about how we need to flip traditional business strategies to start with the people and do this by caring for them. The second quote comes from a different kind of leader, the Dalai Lama, a spiritual leader. And he said, to earn trust, money and power aren't enough. You have to show some concern for others, and you cannot buy trust in the supermarket. Trust is something that I've spoken about quite a few times throughout the series, and something that is absolutely critical in any relationship, especially in the workforce. And as Dalai Lama says, you can't buy it, you can only earn it. And it comes from showing concern and caring for others. And the final quote comes from Maya Angelou, who was an absolutely amazing poet, writer, singer, and civil rights activist. And she has many inspirational and powerful quotes, but one of my absolute favorites is that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you do, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And it's such an important thing to keep in mind as a leader. And I think it's a great way to wrap up this concept of care in general. So how do you do this? How do you take care of your people? Well, I'm going to be sharing with you 7 tips, some that I've spoken about already. And also, as I mentioned before, I'm going to throw a couple other ones in to just sort of round it all out. So the first tip is to default to transparency, which comes from the second session, where I spoke about being open and honest with your employees when it comes to communicating with them. Defaulting to transparency is putting all of your cards on the table, so sharing everything with your employees, good and bad, and not hiding the truth from them. This not only helps them be their best as they have all the facts, but it shows them that you care enough about them to trust them with the truth. So next time you find yourself in a situation and you wonder, can't I share information with your team? Challenge yourself to default to transparency and not hide behind the corporate veil of secrecy, which so often businesses and leaders do. The next tip is to give feedback, a concept, again, I've talked about many times throughout this series. And you also remember that when I talk about feedback, I talk about it as a gift. For I truly believe, and I've seen, that when you give feedback in the right way, it shows your employees that you care about them, taking the time and putting in the effort to share and to give them this gift. So next time you find one of your employees doing something right or even possibly wrong, think about how you can give them this gift of feedback, showing them that you care about them and you're interested in helping them be the best that they can through feedback. And speaking of feedback, the next tip is one of my favorite ways of giving feedback, which is feedback through recognition. which is something that I spoke about in the 5th session. And as I explained, recognition is something that your employees crave. They want to feel appreciated. And it's also something that your company craves because, as I spoke about in the session, it turns your employees into superheroes because they're able to achieve so much more for your company. So next time you find your employees doing something right, instead of thinking to yourself, oh, that was good, either formally through your company's recognition program or informally through just simply thanking them, show them that you care and recognize them for their contributions. My next tip also talks about superheroes, but in a different way. And this tip is about being a human leader, which is about taking off your superhero cape and showing your employees that you care about them by showing your human side. In the 4th session, I spoke about this through owning your mistakes, which is about admitting when and how you've been human and what you've done wrong. But when it comes to showing your employees that you care about them, there's more to being human than just this. It's also about sharing with your employees your fears, your doubts, and even who you are outside of your leadership role. So if you were Superman, for example, you'd introduce them to Clark Kent. So next time you start hiding your thoughts and your feelings, be brave, show you care, and take your cape off for a minute and show your human side to your employees. So the next tip is to trust your employees. And this was the topic of the 6th session. And in this, I spoke about how we need to remember that we hired our employees because they were right for the job and they were right for the company. So it's important to follow through with this with trust, giving them the keys to the car and letting them get on and do their job. So next time you find yourself wondering if you can trust your employees with information or with responsibility, challenge yourself to trust them with it, showing them that you care and help them grow and help them develop. And speaking of growing and developing, the next tip is to show that you care by unlocking your employees' potential. Now, I've spoken about this concept many times throughout the series in a variety of ways, especially in the 8th session. And that's because a key part of your role is to unlock the potential, helping your employees be the best that they can be and helping them succeed. One of my favorite people leaders, Claude Silver, she's the Chief Heart Officer at VaynerMedia. She talks about how our role as leaders is to do this by finding our employees' light, their joy, their purpose, and their happiness. So ask yourself, do you know this for everyone on your team? And then ask, what am I actually doing as a leader to show them I care by doing something about it, unlocking their potential? My final tip is to remember and act on something very important, which is your duty of care. As leaders, we need to remember that we have a duty of care. So we have a responsibility for caring for our employees. So yes, they've said that it's an important trait of a leader, which is great that they value it. But whether they say it or not, it is something that we have to take seriously and we have to address as a key part of our leadership role. Which leads me quite nicely to the final question, which is about where to go next. So what are the next steps for success? So throughout these series of 10 sessions, I've shared lots of ideas and lots of tips. But how do you know which ones are the ones that you should take on board and which are the ones that you should action? To help you with this, I've created a document that you can download from the website and use to create an action plan based on the 10 things that I've covered in these sessions, which are the 10 things that great leaders do. Now, there's 3 parts of this document. The first is to assess how well that you do or you live the trait now. The second part is to rank them from high to low so that you can identify which are your development areas. And finally, what you do is you select the 2 to 4 areas where you need to develop and improve the most. And for each of these, list out what you're going to do about it. Go through the series, pick some tips or anything that you've heard before, but clearly list out what you're going to do to improve. Now, in regards to these development areas, just a few things that I wanted to mention. First of all, they should be the ones with your lowest rankings, obviously. And if you have a few of them, what I'd suggest doing is looking at the ones that you feel will make the biggest difference. I'd also suggest, if you're brave enough, is to actually share these 10 things with the members of your team and ask them to rank you. And it might give you a very different perspective. So I hope you find this development plan, this action plan helpful. Use it to help you develop to be a better leader than you are already now. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for joining me for these 10 sessions. And thank you to Envolve for hosting and sponsoring them. I wish you all the luck in being the best leader that you can be. And please don't hesitate to contact me or connect with me. I'm more than happy to help you with any questions that you may have. Thank you.